It started like any other night. I was driving home from a work trip, the kind that drags on longer than it should, leaving you more exhausted than productive. The sky was a thick velvet of black, stars obscured by low-hanging clouds, and the hum of my tires on the asphalt was the only sound in the quiet cocoon of my car. It was close to midnight. I'd driven this stretch of highway a dozen times before, long, monotonous, cutting through miles of forest with only the occasional gas station or diner interrupting the dark. I knew the route by heart. But that night, something was different. My GPS blinked, then glitched. The screen turned white, then black. A soft recalculating whispered through the speakers before it died altogether. I glanced at my phone. No signal. Odd but not alarming. I'd hit dead zones out here before. That's when I saw the sign. An old wooden exit marker loomed just ahead. Exit 47, Old Creek Road. I slowed. That wasn't right. There was no exit 47 on this highway, not on this side of the state. I was sure of it. But the strange thing was, I felt drawn to it. Like it was waiting for me. I don't know why I turned off. Curiosity? Fatigue? Maybe a part of me thought there'd be a gas station or a diner where I could reset the GPS, stretch, grab some coffee. Instead, the road narrowed quickly, swallowed by thick woods on both sides. The streetlights stopped. The pavement turned cracked and rough, riddled with weeds. Trees loomed high, branches stretching overhead like skeletal arms, blotting out the moonlight. I should have turned back. But there was nowhere to turn. After about 10 minutes, I saw a flicker of movement in the trees. A deer, I thought. Then another flash, closer this time. I tapped the brakes and leaned forward. But the forest was still. Too still. Suddenly, something darted across the road. I slammed the brakes. It wasn't a deer. It was tall. Thin. Human-like. But it moved wrong, fast and twitchy like someone skipping frames in a video. Its head jerked toward me as it passed, and though it was only a glimpse, I swear its eyes glowed. Heart pounding, I hit the gas. That's when I noticed something terrifying. The road behind me was gone. Not in the rearview mirror. I mean, it had literally vanished. Where there should have been the cracked road leading back to the highway, there was now just forest. Dense, dark, impassable forest. No tire tracks. No path. Nothing. My headlights flickered. Panic swelled in my chest. I was trapped. I drove faster. The road twisted unnaturally, winding through the trees like it was alive. Each turn felt tighter, more disorienting. My dashboard lights blinked and the air inside the car grew colder. I turned the heater on. Nothing. I could see my breath in the air, fogging the windshield. That's when the first scream hit. High-pitched. Inhuman. Came from ahead. Or behind. Or maybe both. It echoed through the trees, bouncing off the narrow road like it was coming from inside my skull. I gripped the wheel tighter. Eventually, the road opened slightly, revealing a clearing with an old gas station. Dusty, abandoned, but with a single light flickering above the pump. It looked like something out of the 60s, like time had stopped there. I pulled in, breathing hard. The door creaked as I stepped out. Gravel crunched beneath my boots. The cold bit into my skin. I called out. Hello. No answer. I approached the small building. The glass door was fogged from the inside. I wiped it clean with my sleeve. There were shapes, figures, moving inside. But not like people. They didn't walk. They twitched. One of them turned slowly toward me. Its face was wrong. It had no mouth. Just two empty holes for eyes and a featureless stretch of pale skin where a mouth should have been. I stumbled back. My hand hit the gas pump. A voice behind me whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I spun around. Nothing. The light above flickered violently, then burst, plunging the station into darkness. I ran back to my car, slammed the door and locked it. When I looked back at the station, it was gone. Not just dark. Gone. As if it had never been there. Only forest remained. I was shaking. Breathing too fast. I fumbled for my phone again. Still no service. And that's when I saw it. In the rearview mirror. A shape standing behind the car. I turned. Nothing. But I know something was there. I know I saw it. I started driving again. Fast. Too fast. Branches scratched the sides of the car like claws. The road twisted even more now, like it was alive and laughing at me. I didn't know where I was going. Just that I had to get away from whatever was following me. Because I was being followed. I was sure of it now. Every so often I'd catch a flicker in the trees, a pale shape keeping pace. Sometimes it was beside me. Sometimes it was ahead of me. Once, it was on the hood. Just for a moment. A white, faceless figure crouched on the hood, staring at me with those empty eyes. I screamed. Swerved. It vanished. My car hit something. I lost control. The world spun. Then everything went black. I woke up slumped over the wheel. The engine was dead. The air was freezing. The forest was silent. Too silent. I opened the door. Pain shot through my leg. Nothing was broken, but I was bruised badly. I stumbled out. My car sat in the middle of a dirt road. But it wasn't the same road. This one was narrower. The trees thicker. There were no stars above. Just a dark, churning sky that seemed almost alive. I looked around. There was a sign nailed to a nearby tree. Read, "No exit." My heart dropped. Then I heard the whisper again, closer this time. Right behind me. "You took the wrong turn." I turned, fists clenched. And I saw it. The pale figure. Watching from the tree line. This time it smiled. Only it didn't have a mouth. But I felt the smile. Like it had been carved into my mind. I ran. I don't know how long I ran for. Hours maybe. Branches tore at my skin. Roots snagged my feet. But I didn't stop. Not until I saw lights in the distance. A house. A small cabin tucked between the trees. I approached cautiously. Knocked. Pounded. No answer. The door was open. Inside was dimly lit by a fireplace, still burning. A kettle hissed on the stove. Someone had been here. Recently. I stepped inside. There were photos on the walls. Black and white. All blurry like they were taken in motion. But every photo had one thing in common. In each one, somewhere in the background. That faceless figure. Watching. Waiting. Sometimes it was close. Sometimes far. But always there. I backed away. That's when I noticed the final photo lying on a table. It was of me. Standing at the gas station. Behind me, the figure. And beneath it, a handwritten note. "They always take the exit." The cabin door creaked behind me as I stepped away from the table. My breath hitched, the photo still clutched in my shaking hands. It was me. Standing at that gas station that had vanished. And behind me, that thing. It was closer in the photo than I remembered. The faceless figure loomed in the background, pale and towering, like it belonged to another reality entirely. The note beneath it swam in my vision. "They always take the exit." I wanted to scream. To run. But my body wouldn't listen. The fire crackled softly behind me, its warmth doing nothing to cut the chill settling in my spine. I wasn't alone here. The realization hit me in the pit of my stomach. It wasn't just the photos. It was the way the shadows in the corners didn't quite sit still. The way the air felt charged like just before a thunderstorm. And above all, the oppressive silence that pressed in from outside. The woods had gone dead silent. I turned toward the hallway. There were 2 doors at the back of the cabin. I crept forward. The wood beneath my feet moaned with every step. The first door led to a bedroom, dusty, untouched. A small bed, an old wardrobe, and another photo frame resting on the nightstand. I picked it up. Another blurred image. A man this time. Early 30s. Pale with wide, haunted eyes. In the background, the same faceless figure, only this time, it had turned toward the camera. Its head tilted unnaturally to one side as if curious. The man's name was scrawled on the back. Michael, exit 47 to 1989. My skin crawled. I checked the wardrobe. Nothing but a heavy coat with something sewn into the lining. I tugged it out. A map. Drawn by hand. Shaky lines and messy ink. A crude sketch of the forest, the twisted road, and exits. All labeled. Each one crossed out but one. Exit 47. There was also something else. An X marked deep in the woods with the word shack written beside it. Maybe it was a way out. Maybe just another trap. But it was the only lead I had. I stuffed the map into my jacket pocket and turned to leave when I heard the front door creak open. Then close. I froze. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the living room. I pressed myself to the wall, breath shallow, heart hammering against my ribs. The footsteps stopped. I peeked around the corner. The cabin was empty. But the fire was out. The air had gone frigid. And something was on the table now. Another photo. It hadn't been there before. It was still warm, like it had just come from a printer. I stepped forward, stomach twisting. In the photo, the cabin. The room I was in. And standing just behind the doorframe, me. But the me in the photo had something the real me didn't. A hand, long, bony, pale, resting on my shoulder. My blood ran cold. I turned slowly. Nothing was there. But I didn't wait around. I bolted from the cabin, slamming the door behind me. The forest greeted me with cold silence. Every shadow felt alive. The wind rustled the trees in odd rhythms, like whispers too low to understand. I unfolded the map under my phone's flashlight. The shack was west. I had no compass, but I could follow the stars, if I could find any. But the sky was still that same churning void. No stars. No moon. Only one option. Follow the trail marked on the map and pray it led somewhere. I walked for what felt like hours. The forest began to change. The trees grew closer together, their bark darker, almost black. Moss covered everything, even the air felt heavier, thicker, like breathing through water. And then I heard it. A branch snapping. Behind me. I turned, holding up my phone like it could protect me. Nothing. But I knew. It was following me again. The faceless one. Every few minutes I'd catch a glimpse. A flash of pale skin. A twitching limb. A movement that didn't belong to anything natural. At one point I stumbled upon something hanging from a tree. A body. Or what was left of one. It was old. Bright. Weathered. Clothes torn and faded. But the worst part wasn't the corpse. It was the sign nailed to the tree above it. He went back. I didn't stop to figure out what that meant. Eventually the trail opened into a small clearing. It was smaller than I expected. Barely more than a shed. Its roof sagged under years of rot. But it was real. Tangible. I approached slowly, the map clutched in my hand like a shield. The door wasn't locked. It creaked open with a groan. Inside was dark, musty. But not empty. There was a table. Covered in journals. Hundreds of pages. All handwritten. I flipped one open. March 18th. I saw it again today. It's learning. Mimics me now. Yesterday it spoke with my voice. Told me to go deeper. I almost listened. Another entry. April 2nd. There is no exit. Not anymore. Just illusions. If you're reading this, you're next. I backed away. This wasn't a refuge. This was a grave. A soft creak behind me. I turned. And there was. The faceless figure. Standing in the doorway. No mouth. No eyes. But it was me. My height. My posture. My clothes. Only twisted. Like someone had tried to recreate me from memory and got it just a little bit wrong. Its head tilted again. Then it raised its hand. And pointed at the wall behind me. I turned slowly. Another photo. Freshly pinned. Me. In the shack. But this time the photo was smeared. My face was gone, rubbed out. Replaced by smooth, blank skin. Just like its own. I turned back, but the figure had vanished. Only the photo remained. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat in the corner of the shack, watching the woods through the cracks in the wall. Maps spread in front of me, journals at my side. Somewhere in those scribbled notes, I found a mention of an old bridge. A path west beyond the ravine. Another possible exit. Or another trap. But I had no choice. Because one thing was clear now. It wasn't just following me. It was becoming me. I left the shack just before dawn. Or at least what felt like dawn. There was no sun. No warmth. Only a gradual lightening of the sky, as if the darkness was reluctantly retreating, but only enough to toy with me. The forest looked different now. Wrong. The trees had shifted somehow. Their trunks warped, gnarled like twisted spines. The path leading west was still there, just as the journal had said, but now it felt like walking through something that didn't want me to leave. The silence was heavier than ever. I didn't even hear birds anymore. Just my own breathing, the crunch of wet leaves underfoot, and the occasional whisper of wind that carried voices too faint to understand. I kept moving. According to the journal, the ravine was about a mile out. The bridge spanned across it, ancient, wooden, and unstable, but supposedly still standing. And beyond it, something different. Possibly freedom. Possibly worse. As I walked, I kept my hand on the map and my eyes on the trees. I knew it was still out there. Watching me. Following me. Waiting. Twice I caught glimpses of it in the woods. Only now it didn't look entirely like me. Looked closer. Its movements were smoother now. More human. It wasn't mimicking me anymore. It was becoming me. I passed another corpse hanging from a tree. This one was fresher. Face frozen in a silent scream. Chest sliced open. A note nailed to its forehead. They don't let you leave. I moved faster after that. Eventually I heard water. A river. The trees opened to reveal the ravine. Steep and deep, the river below crashing violently against jagged rocks. And across the chasm, just like the journal had promised, was the bridge. It looked like something out of a forgotten time. Thick ropes held it together, stretching across the gorge, but the wooden planks were dark with rot and several were missing entirely. I approached carefully. There was a sign beside it, etched into an old tree. One at a time. No looking back. The words filled me with dread. Still I stepped onto the bridge. The wood groaned under my weight. I gripped the ropes tight and took one slow step after another. The wind picked up, moaning like a wounded animal. I kept my eyes forward. Halfway across I heard footsteps behind me. I froze. I wasn't alone on the bridge. Slow. Deliberate. Footsteps mirroring mine. Matching pace. I didn't turn. The warning echoed in my head. No looking back. Instead I whispered into the wind. Who's there? No answer. Just the soft thump of footsteps keeping time with my own. And then, breathing. Heavy, ragged breathing just inches behind me. It matched mine. Oh, it mimicked mine. I clenched my jaw, gripped the ropes harder and kept walking. Each step was agony, the boards creaking louder now, threatening to collapse. The wind howled. Then something spoke. From right behind me. In my voice. You can't leave. Not without me. I broke into a run. The bridge shuddered under my weight. Planks snapped beneath my feet. The ropes strained. Something reached for me. I felt cold fingers brush the back of my neck. I dove off the final plank, rolling onto the opposite side of the ravine as the bridge groaned behind me. I turned, heart racing. There was nothing there. No one on the bridge. It was still swaying gently in the wind, but I was alone. I wanted to believe I'd made it. That whatever was following me couldn't cross. But deep down I knew better. I'd escaped nothing. The forest on this side was worse. The trees were thicker, blacker, as if burned from the inside out. The ground pulsed faintly like it had a heartbeat. And ahead of me, carved into a giant stone, was another message. This is where they watch. My flashlight flickered. The air turned electric. I moved forward. The map was useless now, the shack was gone from it, the path erased. All that remained was a smudge where the bridge had been and one word in red ink. As I pushed deeper into the woods I began seeing them. Eyes. Not human eyes, huge, lidless, embedded into the trees themselves. They didn't blink. Just stared. Watching. Judging. A deep pressure filled my skull the longer I walked. My thoughts felt cloudy. My memories began to drift. I couldn't remember my last name. My hometown. My parents' faces. It was taking me apart. Bit by bit. In a small clearing I found another structure. Not a shack this time. A stone circle, ancient and moss-covered, with dozens of crude humanoid figures carved into the perimeter. They were all in different poses, screaming, kneeling, running, hiding. In the center a stone slab. Fresh blood covered it. And carved into the base of the altar was a sentence. You are the exit. I didn't understand. Until I saw the figure standing on the edge of the circle. It was me. Not the twitchy, broken mimic from before. Me. Perfectly copied. Same clothes. Same face. Same expression. But something was wrong. Its eyes were just a little too wide. Its smile a little too calm. It raised a finger and pointed at the stone altar. And then it whispered in my voice. It's time. I ran. But the forest shifted again. No matter which way I turned, I ended up back in the clearing. Back at the altar. Back with the thing that looked like me. It never moved. Just stared. Waiting. That's when I realized. The journal hadn't been wrong. There was no way out. Not in the way I'd hoped. Only one way forward. And the thing that had been following me all along. It didn't want to kill me. It wanted to replace me. It couldn't leave this place unless someone else stayed behind. I had to choose. Stay trapped here forever. Or become the next faceless thing. The next bait for the next poor soul who takes the wrong exit. I looked at the altar. Then back at it. And I asked the question I never wanted to ask. What happens if I take your place? It smiled wider. Then you become the road. I stood at the edge of the altar, wind brushing through the cursed trees that surrounded the stone circle. The thing that looked like me, it didn't move. Didn't blink. Just watched. Its smile didn't fade as it repeated. Then you become the road. The forest was dead silent, waiting. There were no choices left. Not really. Either I became part of whatever this was, or I stayed trapped in a loop of fear and madness until I ended up like the others. Photographed, hung, erased. I stepped forward, the moss slick beneath my feet. The altar was cold, wet with old blood. As I ran my hand along the edge, visions burst in my mind. Flashes of people, dozens of them. Screaming. Running. Dying. All of them had taken the wrong exit. I looked up and the doppelganger was gone. Vanished like fog in sunlight. But I knew it wasn't gone. It had gotten what it wanted. And now it was me. I wandered after that. Hours. Days. Time was meaningless in this place. I no longer felt hunger. Or thirst. Only weight. As if something heavy had been placed deep in my chest. The woods stopped fighting me. In fact, they seemed to welcome me now. The trees moved slightly out of my path. The eyes embedded in their trunks no longer stared in judgment, but in recognition. I was part of them now. Or becoming part of them. Then I saw the others. Shadowed figures deep between the trees, watching me with expressions I recognized. Confusion, fear, despair. Some of them looked like people. Others looked like copies. Slightly wrong versions of themselves. One had a stretched face like melted wax. Another blinked with eyelids that closed sideways. They were all stuck here. Between being themselves and becoming something else. And I knew, this place didn't kill you. Transformed you. Twisted your identity until you were just another mask to be worn. Just another tool to bait the next victim. That's when I saw the sign. Nailed to a dead tree, rusted and worn. Exit 47 to 0.7 miles. I stopped. It couldn't be real. I'd taken that exit days ago. But it was here. And below the sign, carved in wood. Return and be replaced. I followed it. And the world began to change again. The trees thinned. The sky turned an unsettling gray, like something was trying to remember what the real world looked like. I started seeing things I recognized. An old traffic cone, a strip of road, a bent streetlight. The highway. It was right there. I stumbled onto it like a man returning from the dead. The black asphalt stretched in both directions, empty and quiet. My car was gone. The gas station was gone. But it was the road I'd left behind. For the first time I felt relief. I thought I'd made it out. Until I heard it. The hum of an engine. A pair of headlights rounded the bend. A car approached, an old sedan, rusted and familiar. My chest tightened. I recognized the license plate. It was my car. But I wasn't driving. Inside, behind the wheel, was me. The other me. The one that had watched me from behind, spoken in my voice, chased me across the bridge. Now it was driving my life forward. I stepped into the road, trying to wave it down. Scream. Stop it. The headlights didn't slow. The car passed through me. Like I wasn't there. Like I'd already been replaced. I walked the highway for hours after that, calling out, searching for another sign. Anything. But the road stretched on endlessly. And the trees began to bend again. The sky darkened. I wasn't in the real world. Not really. I was caught in its echo. Then I saw the motel. Old, flickering neon lights blinking weakly. Pine Hollow in vacancy. I don't remember walking inside, but suddenly I was at the front desk. An old bell sat on the counter. I rang it. From the back room, a woman appeared. She looked like she'd been here forever. Skin pale. Eyes hollow. But she smiled like it was rehearsed. Checking in, she asked, voice slow and cold. I think I already did, I replied. She didn't respond. Just handed me a key. Room 13. I took it. The hallway stretched forever. My footsteps echoed on the stained carpet. The door to room 13 creaked open before I touched it. Inside was a mirror. Just a mirror. And when I looked into it, I didn't see myself. I saw all of them. The others. Every soul that had taken exit 47. Trapped. Begging. Screaming. Watching me. And behind them. The forest. The road. The altar. All of it still there. Still waiting. And then I understood. I hadn't escaped. I had become part of the trap. The next person to take the wrong exit. They'd see me now. Maybe on a map. Maybe in a photo. Maybe in their rearview mirror. And they'd feel like something was off. But it would be too late. Because once you see it, once you feel it, you've already taken the turn. Already stepped into the in-between. Already handed your identity over to the woods. The motel room didn't exist in any place you could find on a map. It was a waiting room between realities. And I was the new receptionist. I don't remember agreeing to this, not exactly. But when I woke up in room 13, the mirror was gone, the bed stripped clean, and the air tasted like electricity and rot. A single line was scratched into the wall by the door. Don't miss the next one. I didn't know what it meant until I opened the window. Outside was the same stretch of forested road. But this time I wasn't standing on it. I was above it. Looking down from a height that made no sense, like the room was floating above the highway. Or embedded inside the fabric of the road itself. And then I saw it. Headlights. A car winding its way through the trees. Someone else had just taken exit 47. They didn't know yet, of course. No one ever does. Their taillights flickered as they followed the curve, and I recognized that confused hesitation in the way they slowed down at the gas station that no longer sold gas. How they looked in the rearview mirror longer than necessary. How they paused just for a second at the edge of the woods, sensing something was off but not knowing what. It was always the same. A new victim. A new story. A new copy to be made. But this time I felt something different. A flicker of memory. Of resistance. And then, a knock at the door. I froze. Nobody was supposed to be able to reach room 13 unless they belonged here. The knock came again. Harder. More insistent. I stepped toward it, half expecting the doppelganger to be waiting on the other side. But when I opened it, I found her. The woman from the journal. The one who had warned about the bridge. The altar. The eyes. She looked exhausted. Eyes bloodshot. Fingernails cracked. But she was real. Alive. And holding something tightly in both hands. A jagged shard of mirror. Before I could speak, she shoved it into my chest and whispered. You don't have to be part of it. Break the mirror. Break the loop. And just like that, she was gone. The shard burned in my hands. Inside its fractured reflection I saw them again, all the others. But they weren't screaming now. They were reaching. Toward me. Begging me to choose. I could destroy it. Shatter the mirror. Tear a hole in whatever this place was. Maybe set them free. Or I could stay. Stay in the motel. Watch the road. Let the next poor soul fall in and the next. And forget that I ever had a name. I ran. Out of the room. Down the hallway that stretched into impossible shapes. Doors warped and melted around me. The lights buzzed like a hive of angry insects. The forest outside the motel pulsed red. I reached the altar again without remembering the walk. The circle was cracked now. The figures around its edge had changed. Some now looked like me. And in the center, the road. Not a path. Not a bridge. Just the highway itself, spiraling in a perfect loop that folded in on itself like a Mobius strip. And I saw the truth. I was never meant to escape. I was meant to replace. Every time someone takes exit 47, the place feeds. One soul in, one imitation out. And when that soul finally breaks, it becomes part of the road. I was the asphalt. The signs. The lights that never worked. The shadows on the tree line. I wasn't being hunted anymore. I was the hunter. The last thing I remember was throwing the mirror shard against the altar. Shattered. And for a moment, just a sliver of time, I heard every scream, every memory, every distorted identity being sucked back into the wound I had torn open. And then, silence. No eyes. No whispers. No me. No. Well, now you're driving. It's late. The highway is empty. You're tired maybe. Hungry. Your phone's GPS stutters. You pass a sign. Exit 47. Pine Hollow. You think to yourself, just a quick stop. Maybe a shortcut. But something in your chest tightens. The air feels colder. You think about turning around, but the road behind you is gone. And somewhere deep in the woods, a shadow grins. Because the road always needs someone. And it just got you.